Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Can You Survive This podcast? And I always appreciate you guys listening, all 5 of you. I mean, I'm just kidding. Can you believe we're up to like 50,000 downloads and we're in the top 0.5% of podcasts out there, and we wouldn't have been able to do it if it wasn't for you. So I appreciate that. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate any stars you want to give us. I'll even take 1 star. Most people wouldn't say that, but I don't really care. I think it's all good as long as you're giving us feedback. It's constructive, and we can make the show better. And then once again, I got to hit Gators eyewear. These things I've got on my face, people are always asking about them. It's only a 0.5 reader, but man, I tell you, I can actually see things again. They're custom made by Gators eyewear. It's what you see every SEAL on the terminal list on Amazon wearing, which was written by my good buddy Jack Carr, who's been on the show. And it's also what every SEAL is wearing on the TV show SEAL Team on CBS here in the United States. And I say that because today I've got a guest that's overseas. She's a badass. She's like this fucking ninja hardcore. You don't see her until she's slapping you in the face. She's an Australian motorsports host. She's a journalist. And she's one of 3 SAS Australia winners, completers. Riana, welcome to the show. What the hell do they call you when you finish SAS, when you actually make it to the end?
Oh, hey, Clint, thank you so much for having me. I don't know what they call us. Like, everyone always says that. What did you win? And I'm like, nothing. I won nothing. You know what I won? I won a lifetime of scars on my legs. But, I don't know. What do I say? We passed selection, which was so overwhelming and a very big surprise. But yeah, we were just talking off air. It's been it's nearly a year coming up to us being on the show and where we obviously met. And it's crazy. Time just flies. Life just goes by so quickly.
And you couldn't tell anybody that you actually won, right? I mean...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously my husband knew because, you know,
you live with him.
we spoke when the show finished, but I hadn't told anyone at all about passing. I think people sort of gathered that I did pretty well. And it kind of actually, so in Australia at the time we were still dealing with the COVID and we had lockdowns and quarantine in Australia. So it actually helped a little bit because after I'd finished the show, I had to go and do 2 weeks of quarantine before I was allowed back to my home. So that kind of was a good grace period.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so it was, in a way, I think it was a good thing. I mean, because it meant that I didn't have to go home directly and tell people, you know, people couldn't quite guess that I was home. And it also allowed me to just like sleep and eat and like rest because we were smashed. Like I was, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later, but like physically, mentally, everything. And I'm glad I had that time of 2 weeks where I could literally just not have to talk to anyone, you know, like catch my breath and then go back home and get back into normal life.
When you're in it, you forget a little bit about the fact that it's a TV show, right?
Yeah.
And then, but do you think some folks maybe it was always in the back of their mind and they thought, well, if I create some drama, maybe I'll get more press when this thing comes out?
Oh, 100%. I
yeah.
There were some people who had, you know, an agenda when they came on and just knew that the way, look, it's probably the most real reality TV show there is on television in Australia. Like in terms of there's very little manipulation from a producer or a director or that sort of stuff, but it's still at the end of the day a reality TV show and, you know, drama and, you know, villains and all that sort of stuff, you know, always come to the fold. So I certainly think there was people in there who had an agenda in the back of their mind, which I don't know how, because I was too busy just trying to fucking survive. Like I couldn't think about what I might look like in, you know, 4 months' time when this comes out on TV.
Yeah, no, you did great though. And you made some good points. The biggest one is it's a selection first and a TV show second. And even here in the States, I mean, I don't know that you'd get away with that show in the States, like running it that way, where 4 guys are in charge of these, you know, close to 20 celebrities and then just running it. And with we're not getting, it's not like we're getting a bunch of direction either from producers and stuff. We're just truly running it as if it's a selection course and making sure you guys are miserable.
And that's probably the hardest and the most common question from people was like, oh, how real was it? Or, and it's like, no, it is. That's if anything, it was harder than what the TV showed, like, I believe, because there was, they're obviously trying to fit 24 hours of the day into, just a couple of hours at night. So things have to get cut out. But, lots of things that, we spoke about post show with some of the other recruits, like, for fuck's sake, they made us do this and they never even showed it. Like, what was the point of that?
Yeah.
But I think it was certainly harder than what it was portrayed as on TV. And yeah, like trying to explain to people that there was no director or producer standing there going, oh, shoot that again, or like poke you and prod you, like, oh, do this. It was just like, as soon as the camera rolled on day one, like it didn't stop rolling until the final day. And yeah.
Amazing. It's an amazing concept, amazing format. The way it's broken out is just so cool, and definitely a lot of fun.
To be fair, I had a lot of that in my head in SAS. So I was like, look, it's a TV show. Like, are they really going to let us die? And then there was times I was like, to be honest, they might. Like, I think they might let us die.
You want to hear something scary on the other side? Us as instructors, we're like, these guys are going to die. I hope nobody dies today. Jesus.
Like, look, there's a lot of paperwork that is involved if someone dies. It's going to be bad for the network. But there were certainly times where you're like, how safe is this?
Yeah, I kind of had the same thoughts. I hate to say that, but I mean, you guys were doing high risk stuff, and you had us managing those high risk events, and I lend it back to years and years of training, that stuff I thought I forgot, I mean, immediately came back to the surface, and I was on it. So were any of you really going to die? No fucking way. There's no way any of the four of us were going to let anything like that happen. And it proved that, I think I told you this at the beginning, like special operations, man, it's like, if you've done it long enough, everything is muscle memory. You think you've forgotten it. It comes back. And I remember the moment when I realized it was when you guys had to climb up the waterfall, right?
Yeah.
That ladder up the waterfall.
Yeah.
And I remember I got called, real quick. An aunt or somebody was like, hey man, can make sure all their harnesses are good. And I was like, huh? Like I hadn't rappelled or done anything in a little while. And when you're doing rope work and you're dealing with harnesses and carabiners and all that hardware, it's a perishable skill, right? And if you're not doing it on a regular basis, it's real easy. What I thought was to forget it. But the reality was I didn't. Immediately I was, it came to the surface, like, the most important aspect is that waistline and making sure that waist belt is above your iliac crest, because if you flip upside down, that's going to keep you in the harness more than like the leg straps or anything else, right? Yeah. And but none of you were going to die, not on our watch, no doubt about it. We'd probably kill ourselves before we allowed you guys to die.
Yeah, but I do think like like I hadn't done any abseiling or rock climbing. Like I think I did it once when I was in school, and you just go, okay, like you've given us this fairly short brief, and then it's like, go do that. Yeah. And I like particularly that very last challenge when it was, down to the three of us before we passed selection, and like that wall was basically vertical. That was
insane. Insane.
To think like we fucking climbed, I climbed that fucking wall. Like how the hell?
You scaled it. You guys scaled that thing to get to, the piece of equipment stuck on the side. Yeah. I mean,
and, like, I think, like just, it really does go to show that, like if you mentally are there, you can do, your body will fail before your mind fails, and you just got to be strong in the mind. And that's what I got most out of everything we did.
Yeah, you guys crushed it. The three of you, I mean, Jesus, just awesome. You're listening to Can You Survive This podcast? Thanks for tuning in. Please make sure to subscribe, rate, and share on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite shows.